an extremely important session for all of us. This is my second edition in Conversation with Chitrajit. And we have two special guests and one of my colleagues joining from Webmo. We have Dr. Afifi, who is the CEO of Volspay. Volspay is one of the upcoming fintech organization. They have made their mark in the industry, and Dr. Afifi, with his phenomenal experience across payment security and payment acquiring, will share his views today. Along with Dr. Afifi, we have Mr. Sailesh Malhotra. Sailesh is the GM for Middle East and GCC for GTR, one of the very, very known names in the fintech industry. Anybody who is well known in Middle East and Africa should be knowing Sailesh. With loads of banking experience, he has been helping a lot of fintech organizations across the globe. And we would love to hear from Sailesh as well during today's discussion. The topic is very relevant today, ladies and gentlemen. It is regarding the online payment surge. And when we talk about online payment surge, there are a lot of there are hello. Can you hear
Yeah,
me
yeah, go
well?
ahead. Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, so there are a lot of flavors attached to that. Not only is transaction processing, along with that, the payment security, and Wibmo being a pioneer in payment security and fintech space for the last 20 odd years. We are enabling a lot of banks with upcoming upgraded payment security products and acquiring products in issuance space. We are already made our mark, and that is very, very important from our side to highlight the fact that Wibmo is a PayU company, and we have created our mark in almost 30 plus countries with footfall, and we are helping around 300 plus customers all across the globe. Without wasting much time, I will also introduce my colleague, Ravi Batula. Ravi heads the business payment gateway business or acquiring business for Wibmo. He's a live wire for Wibmo and has been interacting with a lot of clients all across the globe with his experience in Visa. He's helping not only Wibmo, but across the globe, all the clients, whoever is facing any issues or regarding any requirements. And he will highlight a certain points regarding the acquiring business and what are the new nuances he's facing or new nuances he's coming across when he interact with the clients. So before I go ahead and probably go around the room and ask certain questions, would request Ravi to say a few words, and then we will take care from there. Okay, I believe we lost Ravi in between, and I can go to Dr. Afifi first. Doctor, with the kind of experience you have, and you have been seeing the industry all across the globe, what is your view? How secure is our payment industry? How secure is our platform all across the globe?
Thank you very much, GCC. It's been a great pleasure to be here today with this live session. In spite of what we've been through in the last couple of minutes, we are doing great, and thanks that we are here to share our views in this regard. Now, when it comes to the security of payment systems, the ecosystem itself, we can endlessly, describe and talk about security till the end of time. But when it comes to the best money that can be invested in, let's say, security measures, talking about different organization enhancements, growth, continuous improvements, to have just a sound information security, I would rather to have my philosophy here. I would like to highlight that security doesn't exist. When it comes to security doesn't exist, to just rephrase this statement, I would say that the absolute security doesn't exist. So security here means, you can have your network, you can have your system, you can have your full ecosystem, secured to some extent. And remember one thing: in spite of all the money that is being, spent, eventually you will find that the human factor is the one which is ultimately sitting behind the keyboard. So I would say that the most vulnerable link in the information security would be into, the human factor. Now, how secure the payments ecosystem is. With the later development and improvements that we had in the field, there are many ways of securing the operating system and securing your ecosystem in general, securing your application program, securing your database, and etc. Now, I'm not gonna talk in particular about my own experience in Vault's Pay security. Regardless, that I'll be pointing out to it from time to time. We're having many examples where we are having an online access and offline access, and this is actually something new, and it is a little bit confusing when it comes to the offline access. How would you be able to access a system which is offline? Now, this is basically something that is really interesting, where the data related manipulation activities would be taken care of offline. And all you've got to be accessing online would be the front end, which is more likely the interface in read-only mode. Now, furthermore, I always, highlighted cryptography as one of the most powerful security aspects in, the payment ecosystems. And when it comes to cryptography, I'm not getting in details again, but I'm talking about the private keys, and public keys, encryption, and the literal sense of end-to-end encryption as well, where you are most welcome to have a copy of that, the data being transacted or being in transit, but would you be able to, let's say, decrypt it or not, which is super difficult. And when it comes to, the decryption techniques, it might be taking ages, and I'm talking about, years and years. So for such, let's say, hijacking of information at this level, it would be near to impossible. I'm not saying impossible, but I'm saying near to impossible. So cryptography is one thing as well. Now, there are some further, let's say, aspects to have your payment secured, but for now, we have been witnessing the booming and the levitating of the payment solutions and payment system is being all over, okay? And I've been talking for, this in the last 20 years, saying that it is going to be digital all the way, and everything is going to be digitalized and digitized as well. So it is time that where the last 2 years of the pandemic accelerated everything, and the need of having, the online payment systems being live up and kicking, which would be, easing everything. And just wrapping up, I hope that I'm still having time. Would say that the monetary system as we know it will never be the same. In 2 to 5 years, the monetary system completely and the payment systems will be changed radically, okay, and it will be moving, into, let's say, mobile applications and, dashboards and so on and so forth.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
It is always fair to mention one particular thing that Wibmo, again, from 1999, we are into the payment security space. We have helped hundreds of banks all across the globe with our ACS and 3D Secure solutions. And when 3D Secure 2.0 came into picture, we are helping the banks and financial organizations to migrate from the erstwhile system to the new one. So this is a role Waymo is playing and has been playing for a long time. Along with that, a lot of fraud management system, a lot of flavors of fraud management system, enterprise fraud. We brought those angles and flavors into the picture so that our customers should feel absolutely secure. So from payment security, I'm going a little bit towards acquiring space, where we have Selesh. Selesh, good afternoon once again.
Hi, good afternoon, CC.
Uh, so you have been seeing GCC and Middle East market for such a long time. So what is your view? The latest surge in the payment ecosystem, a lot of players are coming in. So what is your view on the latest online acquiring business? Which way it is going according to you? Is it like throwing some kind of challenge to the offline acquiring? What do you think?
I think, CC, that's a great question. Won't have a short answer, but let me address it. There are multiple things that are happening in the market, right? Number one, if you look at the way the infrastructure has improved, it has modernized dramatically. The way the infrastructure was, let's say, 10 years ago, and then you compare the infrastructure today, the stacks are extremely modern. Today, you can do cross-border payments, you can do e-com payments, you can do pay by links. There are multiple products that allow a merchant to accept payments and process payments today. Now, what that has basically done is it's provided a lot of avenues for merchant community, for the retailing community to accept payments in forms which are other than cash or other than the forms that we've traditionally known. Now, what is happening in MENA region specifically is that if we were to look at the three pillars that allow electronic payments to happen, they are number one, mobile phones, and our region dominates the mobile phone penetration. If you look at UAE per se, today on an average, one person has around 2.5 to 3 mobile phones at his disposal. Even if you look at the teenagers or the upcoming consumers of payments, they have access to technology like laptops. They have technology access to technology like mobile phones, access to um, other digital forms of payment. What all of this on a combined basis is doing is leading to a surge in uh, accepting payments in a non-cash format. Now, other than that, there is a government impetus. Government is deregulating industries. They are opening the barriers so that more fintechs can come into the acquiring space, can offer solutions which are far more innovative, far more technology savvy to the merchant community so that they can start accepting payments as well. UAE is a classic example. Um, and why is that happening? That is happening because the government sees that the transparency in the financial system allows them to bring in and generate more growth in the economy. There is a transparency in how the GDP is growing, there's a transparency on how VAT collections are happening. Moreover, they can monitor and see the transactions that are happening. Now, when you look at all of these things which are happening in tandem, what it basically means is that the payment segment will grow. Now, if you look at the latest World Bank report, it says that if the entire MENA economy could be digitalized, the GDP will increase at least 46% over the next 20 to 30 years. Now, in dollar terms, it means that the MENA economy will be as large as 1.6 trillion. That is the impact of what is happening in the acquiring space or payment space or whatever you may want to call it. From our perspective in GDR, we are working very hard in bringing the latest technology uh, in the hands of the merchant so that they can start accepting payments in the easiest, fastest, convenient, and the cheapest way. We see that e-commerce will continue to grow 3x. Um, Another reason that I have to mention is that COVID was a very big enabler. With the COVID coming in, people started transacting more online and they didn't want to go into shops. They don't want to touch and feel. And the whole economy and consumer behavior moved from touch and feel to touch me not, and that has enabled the payment surge which is happening in the region. Now you ask me a question: which way it will grow? I think it will continue to grow. It will continue to grow 3x, 4x times, definitely. Will it be offline? Will it be online? I think offline will not reduce by any measure. They will continue to grow, but I think it's e-commerce and digital payments that will lead the way. Um, Even one more point I would like to add is that the emergence of alternative payments has also helped a lot in terms of bringing new consumers onto this payment platform. So as we look at it, I think the future is very bright for payments. And I haven't even touched upon the points of cryptocurrencies and blockchain-based enabled payments, B2B payments. If I start going into those details, I'll end up talking for the next 1 hour. But to address the question, SCC, I feel positive. I feel that the growth is imminent. It will be across the board, both in POS and e-commerce. And I think with the government support that they're giving, we are not going to see any saturation come in at least the next 10 to 15 years.
Thank you so much, Salesh. And when we are talking about acquiring business nuances, the challenges, Salesh pointed out regarding the APMs, alternative payment methods. I will quickly go to Ravi because Ravi is holding the fort for us, and we have our white level payment gateway platform, which is not only payment gateway, but at the same time we offer online switch as well to our clients. So quickly going to Ravi. Ravi, just for your understanding, I know that economy is going towards a different direction. So subscription payment, what is your view regarding this? Because this is a big name coming quite often when we discuss with our clients or prospects.
Yeah, thanks, CC. So I think summarized very well, right? Where we are heading in terms of digital payments and the growth of digital payments. Rather, it's not a growth; it's an explosion that is happening and continue to happen for the next 4 to 5 years, right? And one of the key driver for that is because more ways to pay, more ways to accept, and consumer trust, right, and convenience, right? If you see, the why will the payments will grow, right? I mean, because with the 90% of mobile penetration, the acceptance, because consumers will trust the system, right? Trust the ecosystem. And for them, again, the convenience is very important, frictionless checkout, right? And I think MENA region, GCC, is one of the regions where the adoption of contactless payments and wearables and is on the rise, right? I mean, it's one of the regions where the adoption is highest, to be honest, right? So how will that happen, right? For that to happen, for subscription based payment, because subscription economy is the recurring economy where we, each one of us, we subscribe to groceries, digital goods, like the Netflix of the world, LinkedIn's of the world, right? I mean, we see movies and we don't think twice before sharing our credentials online, and next time when we visit, we just say, hey, so much in a rush, we just check out, right? We don't wait to enter our card details, right? So that is one of the key things that is driving, even like Asia region, Asia, like India and Indonesia, right? This is growth, right? And if we were to look at what is happening in our neighboring regions like India, the central bank has come up with a directive on tokenization, wherein as the adoption is growing, they also want to make sure the consumers are safe and secure, right? And one of the measures that the central bank is driving is through tokenization. They're saying any online card on file wherein the consumers store their credentials has to be in a tokenized form. What it means is tokenization is much secure manner wherein it's an irreversible process. So once you store or leave your card number or details, no one can reverse engineer it like we do in case of a cryptography. Like you have a public private key, one of the keys you have, you can do the reverse engineering and get access to the original data. Because in case of tokenization, it's very safe and secure. Likewise, you extend this on the device tokenization. And I think in India also, like, the contactless payments are on the rise thanks to, again, the underlying technology is tokenization. So tokenization is a key enabler to drive digital payments and the subscription economy. Also, on top of that, we have additional security measures, right? Because only the adoption will be as much as long as in the system. For that, I'm through OTP as a second factor authentication, changing for better convenience and better security through biometric authentication, through whether it is, my fingerprint, Face ID, my voice, my retina chip, anything, right? It could be a combination of many of those, right? Because customer wants convenience and security at the same time. It's a little long-winded answer, CC, but yeah, I mean, that's where it is heading, and it should continue to evolve, right? Because the bad guys are also evolving much faster pace than the actual systems are coming up. So we have to be, much ahead of them.
Yeah, absolutely. The sophisticated fraud is a common problem
Right.
all across, and we are facing that challenge every now and then. When and I know that you know how passionate you are about tokenization, because not only device tokenization, Wibmo considers a token hub where the device tokenization, issuer tokenization, and network tokenization, all three aspects of tokenization, we comprise, and we would wish to create a complete ecosystem of tokenization when we talk to our client. Going into security phase, going back to Dr. Afifi again. Doctor, you mentioned a very interesting point that you know nothing is secured today, and it is so true. So, what do you perceive? What are the changes you perceive which we need to bring into the ecosystem to make it more secure, more watertight? What is your vision?
Thank you very much once again. As my colleague just mentioned, it was rightly said. I would say that, I want you to get me right. Nothing is secure in the literal sense of the absolute security, which means that we can always approach security, we can always have our security measures, and etc. Now, if one can access a system or the whole ecosystem using a user ID and password, or using whatever authentication methods can be used, anyone else having the same credentials will be able to. So again, I am emphasizing on that the weakest link in the information security is basically the human factor. So if somebody steals your phone, if somebody steals your second authentication, or somebody steals your user ID and password, they would be able to access. And this is where my statement stands absolutely right, where the absolute security is not existing. Now, when it comes to the topic of how would we be able to adopt any changes, or how would we be able to make our ecosystem more secure, this is again going to a very important topic here. Information security in general, it is a very hot issue where it is a dynamic topic. Dynamic topic in the literal sense that it is not simply like pushing a button or setting up a system and I will say that my system is secure. It is something that everlasting and ever changing, okay? And you need to be up to date with whatever technology is being available and whatever techniques that you can actually come up with. As I have mentioned, and my colleagues also mentioned, cryptography or encryption of data, where you would find that there are a lot of important, let's say, departments all over the world being, attacked every year. And if the money can buy the best security systems, those people can buy it. But again, I would say that someone is trying to break into my system. Will you be able to break into the system? Yes. Would you be able to take a copy of my data? Yes. Would you be able to read this data? No. And this is exactly where cryptography comes in. Now, in cryptography, there are some standard security measures that has to be taken care of, where most of the important aspects is basically going into encryption of data and encryption of the connection itself. We have heard about the end-to-end connection, where the data would be fully encrypted. I wouldn't say secure, fully encrypted while it is in transit. This is one way of making the ecosystem of payment solutions secure. One more thing that is not basically heavily used is the blockchain technology. Now, in the blockchain technology, this is one of, let's say, the spearhead, okay, of the bottom line or the enclosure of information security. How is that? All of us know what the blockchain is. It is basically shared ledger, immutable, irreversible transactions. It is more likely that once it is being written, it cannot be reversed. And now, if we talk, theoretically, you need to change all the ledgers which has basically registered this transaction to hack into the system, which is not near to impossible. It is basically impossible. Why is that? Because it is not a simple process of writing that transaction or the transaction ID. It is more like it is being, even if you made a transaction, let's say a couple of years ago, you still have some ledgers are still, verifying and writing this transaction as it goes. You would never find it a static, regardless that two confirmations would be making it immutable, or even six confirmations would be making it mutable. You find that it is being thousands or even hundreds of thousands of ledgers having this information. To change it, and assuming that you are the super, let's say speedy in doing this in all the ledgers, if you assume that it is taking only 1 second in each ledger and it is being registered in 100,000 ledgers, you'll be needing 100,000 seconds. By the time you reach, half of this number, you will find that it has been registered in as equal numbers of ledgers as well. So this is where actually you will find that blockchain is one of the technologies, whether it is a private blockchain or it is a public blockchain or even consortium blockchain or even permission blockchain. Any type of blockchain at this level, okay, would be basically holding all the system secure, all right, where the information will be immutable, it will be not changeable. Now, when it comes to why blockchain, again, you would find that it is a greater trust. Blockchain is based on the distributed systems, technology, where you'll find that it is more likely you would be having more measures into using the blockchain to make those transactions immutable or irreversible and changeable. Even if you just happens to make a wrong transaction, it will not be reversed. It can be, you can make a new transaction which would be a reversal of the first transaction, but both transactions will be registered in the ledger. That makes it more secure, and it gives it the advantage of a greater security, where a consensus on all the data accuracy would be required on all over the networks. All the members of that network, all the players on that network has to be agreeing on a certain transaction where it is immutable and it is irreversible. So no one can make any changes in that. If we figure out, okay, the best applications that we can use in the blockchain for the payment ecosystems or payment solution ecosystems, I can assure you, and please mark me here, that we will be reaching a level of security where it is gonna be so great, or greater security at this point. Now, on the other hand, we can talk, again, endlessly about the different, authentication methods. And when it comes to more than one authentication method, you will be talking about the accessibility available using more security layers like 2FA or, two-factor authentications. We have seen many free services that generates a key where it can be used in combination with the user ID and password to give you access to the system. Not only this, talking about the biometrics, talking about the facial recognition, talking about fingerprints, talking about voice prints, talking about, video prints as well. Of course, we can talk about the OTPs, which is being sent to the registered phone number, one-time password, where it is valid for a certain number of seconds. See, the topic is endless, and actually there are so many ways that you can secure the ecosystem. But remember one thing, that the information security is a dynamic topic, as I said, and it should be up to date. Thank you
Yeah, it
very
is.
much.
It is. Thank you. Thank you. It is an ocean, to be honest. And you pointed out about 3DS 2.0, and I'll like to go back to Ravi once again. Ravi, how's the adoption of 3DS 2.0 in the industry? So what do you see, and what are the challenges we face, or what is the approach you receive when you talk to various clients? Because you talk to clients across all the geographies. So what is your views?
Yeah. So yeah, again, in continuation of our security, I think Dr. Afifi summarized it very well. and 3ds 2.0, because when we talk about 3ds, right? So it is three domain security, just for everyone's understanding, so that it's not too technical, right? So at a protocol, right? I mean, just a very, I'll take 30 seconds to explain 3ds in a simplified manner. When we talk about industry-wide, payment transactions across, multiple entities, right? So there are three particular entities that come together to make a payment transaction happen, right? When we talk about three domains, what are the domains? Issuer domain, acquiring or the merchant domain, and the interoperability domain, right? So acquirer domain is what we are talking about, which is the most complex, very fragmented, merchant, errors, PSPs, payment gateways coming into making it happen, right? Issuer domain is fairly straightforward because it is very, very standardized. It is with the banks, and there are fairly set of players who support that, right? So issuing is taking the center because issuers are ahead of the game to ensure that when the customers come in, right? I mean, they will have to support, right? Is like Wimo, ACS server is definitely one of the industry leaders in supporting our issuing banks and fraternity to meet this compliance, right? So now the biggest challenge that we see is on the merchant acquiring and the payment gateway side of it, right? Wherein there's a lot of people think that 3ds 2.0 is just an upgrade from 1.0. Yes, it's an upgrade, but the complexity it takes to upgrade is with your existing software, it cannot happen. You need a completely new set of software, which is called 3DSS, from the erstwhile MPI, which used to support. And we need to put things into perspective that 3ds 1.0 protocol started when the internet started in late 90s, right? So this has served the payments industry for last 2 decades or so, right? Now the time has come to evolve beyond, and the existing protocol was there when there was internet, basic internet over dial-up, right? So you could carry only as many data elements, right? And data was premium, right? You cannot just push so much of data at a real time for any payment transaction. Now with evolving, technology, data is improving, hardware advancements. So now you can push more data to ensure you score the transaction in real time using more data elements. That's what exactly the 3ds 2.0 does as a protocol level by carrying more, data elements and the data payload. It's more than 150 elements that we have, close to 150 elements, as compared to almost 20 to 30 elements in the earlier protocol, right? So long story short, with more data elements, you have ability to score the transaction better. You can do the risk screening better, fraud management better. So earlier, I mean, in the payment ecosystem, right? I mean, either acquiring, issuing, there were so many bespoke, fraud and risk management solutions that were built on top of the payment transaction, right? Now it can be built as part of the payment transaction journey itself, right? So it's a great advancement, and it will support omni-channel experience like IoTs, where of that, right? So long story short, yes, 3ds 2.0 is a game changer, but the industry adoption across regions, across countries, across entities is fragmented. I mean, I think Europe and North America are definitely ahead, and Asia and I think GCC is still catching up. And we have, I think, October 22 is the deadline. So I mean, call to industry. So we all have to adopt sooner. I mean, rather than getting caught off guard.
Thank you, Ravi. And this is so vital and important for all of us. At the same time, if I go back to Salesh once again, Salesh, GDI is known all across Middle East and Africa. But in UAE, you have started afresh, and with due respect, we kind of call you a new entrant. So when a new entrant come into a particular country where the payment ecosystem is already evolved, what are the one or two things that the entity should do in order to announce themselves, establish themselves slowly?
I think that's a great question again, CC. Having been part of this fintech industry for a couple of years now, I think there is a consistency in terms of the expectations of the clients when they switch a solution from a tried and a tested partner to a new partner. And my view on this is that what the clients look for is is two things. Number one is what they want to know is what is the incremental value that you bring to the merchant, right? What is the value of them switching from an existing partner to you? And it can't just be price, right? There is a myth. There is a myth that you give a cheaper price, you give a lower price, and the merchant will switch or the customer will switch, but that doesn't really happen. Today, if you look at the merchant environment, the needs of the customer has evolved a lot more than what it was 2 years or 3 years ago, where it was restricted to just the ability of tapping a card or dipping a card and accepting the payment, and that's it, done. Today, the merchant wants things like integration with their SAP system or their Oracle system or their finance system that they're doing. They want to see statements coming up in multiple formats. They want access to incremental products like buy now pay later. They want access to DCC. They want access to consolidation. They want integration of their ECR system into their POS systems. And as you go through the ecosystem, and even if you go from an industry segment, from the smallest of the merchant to the largest of the merchant, the need changes. But there is a dying need of new products which can ease the life of the merchant, where they can get access to better technology, to allow them to do business in a much more effective manner. Uh, the first thing that as a new partner, as a new fintech in the industry, even at a GDR level, one of the challenges that we wanted to address was how do we bring the best technology at the cheapest price in a more accessible and the easiest way to the customer? How do we combine all the products into one box or one solution and offer it to the customer and say, hey, hang on, you don't need to go to multiple suppliers or payment partners or vendors, because me as a partner can give all of this to you through a single window. um, and this could be something as simple as giving access to the merchants who are operating in multiple geographies a single window operation, so that they can integrate in all the countries where GDA currently operates, which is Saudi, Egypt, and UAE, through a single relationship manager or a single window. And I think that has helped us a lot. The second thing that the merchants want today, and it's not rocket science, is ease of doing business. If a payment fintech can make it easy for the merchant to do business with them, they will switch. And
Yeah.
trust me, they don't mind paying a little bit extra, right? But what they want is a partner that understands them, doesn't do an oversell or try to push products that they don't want, um, and has a philosophy of customer first, right? And the reason why GDI has been able to make a very early mark in this industry is because of these two principles. So within the company, we made a DNA change, and the DNA change was customer comes first, and number two is let's give him the technology, let's give him the products that he so much wants today, uh, to help him grow his business, to manage his business, or secure his business. I absolutely agree with what Dr. Fifi was saying. There is nothing called as 100% security. But can we give him something like 80% security? Can we at least give him the assurance that we are doing everything in our power, in our control, which allows the customer or gives him the satisfaction that if we couldn't do it, nobody else could do it. So I
Yeah.
think these are the two key principles, or my feedback to new fintechs who are entering into this industry is to focus on these two, because in GDR, these are the two areas that we focus the most on.
Salesh, I want to stay with you here. We have received a very good statement coming from Ahmed Ali. He's saying that the changes which we see, and probably he is mentioning about the part after COVID or during COVID period in online industry. So
Yeah.
because people are more matured and earlier before COVID, probably people were finding some challenges doing certain transaction, even offline transactions also. But because of the surge of online, the offline transaction, on contrary, it has become more easier for the clients or for the people who are using it offline, so they can use it, they can understand the nuances of an offline transaction better because of the surge of online. Do you agree with it?
I think it can't be a standard yes or no answer, CC. There are, payment industry works in partnership, right? And the most important thing in this partnership is trust, right? Today, the customers have begun to trust the merchant with their payment method much more than they did in the past. Remember, there was a statement saying cash is king, right? I don't hear that anymore. If you look at this region, the cash transactions have reduced by almost 20% thanks to COVID. Probably one of the side effects that we can appreciate in the industry is, um, and that has happened because of the trust factor. So yes, your offline transactions have become far more easier because of better technology, NFC, Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, Click and Pay, wallet pays, and all that stuff. But also on the e-com side, the doing transactions have become far more easier because of advent of products like pay by link or QR code based payments on e-com base, something that GDI is pioneering. And I love it. What the guys in the product team in GDI have done is phenomenal, and we are getting kudos from the industry. So I think overall the payment industry will continue to grow. The issuers are pushing for more payments to shift from cash to digital as well as card based products, and the acquirers are playing their part by bringing better technology to the merchant, which allows them to accept it with the comfort that the payment will come tomorrow.
Thank you, Sailesh. And you mentioned a few pointers here, and I will just correlate that, and I will go to Dr. Afifi. Doctor, a lot of new payment methods are being used today, which were not there even 6 months back. We see some innovative way fintechs and the technology hubs they're coming up with. And no disrespect to them, they are doing fantastically well, and they're basically helping the ecosystem, the organizations all across. My question is it making our industry or the overall sphere more vulnerable, or do you think that these are basically helping us to understand and become more mature? What is your thought process?
Thank you once again to Mr. Salish and Mr. Ravi. They have pointed out such a thing in a very forensic, analysis way. Talking about vulnerability, talking about the different payment methods that might be popping up every now and then. Talk about the payment page, talk about the API, talk about the payment link, talk about the QR code. See, vulnerability of such systems would be existing as long as the network itself exists. So when it comes to that, you are getting connected through a computer network, it means that vulnerability will be there. Now, this is not my primary concern. My primary concern is what is the level of vulnerability that is being there. And again, I would repeat what I said earlier, where the most vulnerable link in the information security is basically the human factor. And this is super important here. Why is that? Because we have seen a lot of implementations and security measures that is being taken off, and in spite of all this, in spite even the money that is heavily invested, you still have a vulnerable system whenever you are having a vulnerable, let's say, human sitting behind the keyboard. Not only this, attacks might be coming from different directions, and the most dangerous attack is basically a clandestine, where someone from inside would be leaking this information or trying to make copies of that information. If you surf the internet right now, you would never find, a standard document which would be stating a security policy. I remember that back there in 2020, I've just made a publication about editing the security policy here, and it has to take care of different, let's say, measures, which is super important. Again, I would not be able to state everything here in today's session, but I would be pointing to some of them. For example, talking about the physical security, which is just mentioned right now, and physical security where I should not be vulnerable to the inside attacks. Talk about remote access. This is for sure that is being taken care of. Talk about firewall configuration, user accessibility, data usage and access policy, need to know bases, etc., etc., until you got to the auditing policy and complying with ISOs, whether it is 27,000 or 15,000, 20,000, when it comes to IT services and security in particular. So the systems in general, any system would be vulnerable, but my concern would be what is the level of vulnerability? Is it a physical, let's say, access vulnerability or remote access vulnerability? Remote access vulnerability is my, let's say, technology taken care of. So basically, it depends on the technology that I'm using. If I'm using a firewall, if I'm using a VPN, if I'm using a BPS, VPN in the literal sense of virtual private network, or using, a BPS or virtual private services here or servers, which would be more secure than the VPNs. Now, when it comes to the firewall configuration, I can use multiple layers of firewalls and so on and so forth. So I'll be reducing the vulnerability of the system here. But one of the most super important, let's say, factors here is basically the physical vulnerability. Where am I having my servers in a locked place? Am I having my data in a locked place? Is data is accessible? Am I allowing flash memories, USBs, or bits and pieces of data to be sent over, the network? Is it being sent in as an attachment on, on the emails, and etc., etc. So vulnerability will remain there as far as we are using computer networks and distributed systems. But once and for all, it shouldn't be, outside the framework that I've just stated, and human should be taken care of as the most vulnerable link in the information security chain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, doctor.
Very well summed up, actually. So I'm just going into the next part, but before that, it is only fair to share a few thoughts from my side as well. So we all are working for our clients, right? So if you see a client life cycle, when the client is coming and client wants to be onboarded as a fintech organization, what we are how we are enabling that customer. So Wibmo comes up with a video KYC, and this was particularly very important for us, and it played a pivotal role during and now after COVID, when customer can be onboarded seamlessly, no matter what kind of bandwidth they're using. Once the customer is getting onboarded, the customer requires various kinds of payment methods or channels. So Wibmo comes up with prepaid card platform, and Doctor, you and me, we just signed our partnership, and hopefully things will take us to a different level. So prepaid card is a platform which Wibmo launched. And when customer has this prepaid card, along with that, customer wants certain virtual products as well. So we have digital wallets as well. Customer has this payment systems, but how to use those? So Wibmo comes up with a payment gateway product. So this payment gateway product where the customer can do a transaction. Payment gateway will enable various banks and financial organizations to offer online payments products, and customer can do their transaction through various processes, like Ravi mentioned. APMs, alternative payment methods can be an option, credit card, debit card, net banking, whatever. Now, when the transaction is getting processed, transaction is getting reconciled and settled, you require certain kind of security features and a fraud and risk management system. This is the beauty of Wibmo, how we offer the solution to our clients. From issuance perspective also, we have the fraud and risk management system completely enabled and embedded with the issuance platform, which is prepaid card or a digital wallet. When I'm talking about acquiring platform also, that fraud and risk management system comes hand in hand with the acquiring space. So customers will feel more secure. And Sailesh pointed out a beautiful thing, that how I can enable or empower a client with a product which is cheap from price point of view, but from quality point of view, it excels all the limits. So that's the beauty of Wibmo's platforms, where we offer acquiring platform or issuing platform, but customer doesn't need to go to another provider for this fraud and risk management system. So that is very, very important from our side. I just wanted to take or steal 2 or 3 minutes from your time. Going back to Sailesh once again. Sailesh, for a company or organization like GDR was presence, as you mentioned, across Middle East and North Africa. What are the three measures you wish to take to excel, considering the present scenario, considering the challenges, considering the competition? What are your views?
Thanks, Ishi. Another great question. I think the three pitfalls that we at GDR are very careful about, and this would be my guidance to feedback to other fintechs also would be is number one is make sure that you don't overpromise the customer, right? Don't try to sell him a coat when he wants to buy a hat. Also, make sure that the products that you are bringing into the market are certified products, are tested products, and they are very reliable products, which will help the customer build the business and are not just a plain simple sugar coated existing products that you are presenting in a different manner. That's pitfall number one. Pitfall number two is that make sure that your systems are robust, they are tested, they're compliant, and they are able to, both from a regulatory point of view as well as from a client's needs point of view, are secure enough to handle the payments that are flowing through the systems. This is number two. And finally, and the number three is make sure that the customer gets incremental value by doing business with you. Either it's in terms of ease of doing business, or it is in terms of generating more volumes by reducing the dropout rates, or making sure that the customer doesn't loses any business because a particular product was not enabled either onto his offline POS system or on his e-com system. So I think if you can manage these three pitfalls, any fintech will do well. In GDR, I've said this a couple of times, is that for us, customer is first, and therefore we do pay a lot of attention, actually a lot of attention, to making sure that we are giving the customer what they want.
Thank you, Sailesh, once again. Sailesh, this is the points you mentioned, probably the challenges we all face. And these
Yeah.
are very, very valuable suggestions for not only for GDR and the folks in GDR, but all everybody who are probably struggling or probably finding their grounds, but still, struggle is always right. So going back to Ravi, a question came from Sama Salem. Sama says that, do you think the current penetration test methods come to the level that really evaluate how payment solutions are secured? Ravi, you are muted. Can't hear you. Well, technical glitches happen, ladies and gentlemen. That's the world where we are. When we are boasting regarding technology, there are certain glitches as well. So we need to deal with it, right? So going back to Dr. Afifi, Doctor, the same question for you. Volspay is going through the same process where establishing themselves. Uh, mm, People are slowly getting to know Volspay, and they understand that in which spaces you are working upon. So from that perspective, what are the three things as a CEO of the organization? What are the three things or three measures you want to take to grab the market pie, to get yourself or draw attention? So what are the 3 points for you?
Thank you once again. I would say it's a blessing that we are coming from technology background. No offense to anyone, right? But as I usually say, it is technology which is driving everything nowadays, and it is ahead of everything, even regulations. We have been witnessing in the last 20 years or even more that technology is ahead of, let's say, monetary system. It is ahead of financial systems. It is ahead of, many other measures, even the banking system, and as I said, the monetary system in general. Now, for that, we have to keep ourselves up to date, and we have to be able to build up regulations and customize it as it goes. This is very important, and it is even much important that we have been witnessing, okay, that the regulations is being shaped based on the technological enhancement that we have nowadays. So if you're asking me about the three things that might be making VolsPay so unique in such a payment, environment, I would say that it is technology. Number one is technology. Number two is technology. And number three is technology. All right. So I might be sounding a bit odd here, but see what makes VolsPay existing in the market and having its current share is completely because of the technology that we're having ahead. We are having our own technology, which is being built in-house. We have been seeing players in this field for the last 20, 30, or even 50 years. But in spite of that, VolsPay comes with a very, very remarkable footprint and having our market share, which I proudly say that it is increasing every day. Thanks for the good visions and views that we are partnering with, Wipmo, such a fine company where they are again sharing our, let's say, views and vision in being ahead with technology. Everything's being a finger, tip or a click away from everybody, and this is exactly what makes us a little bit, unique in many, aspects. Once and for all, you'll find that the mastermind behind the whole project of VolsPay is coming from technology background. This is a better understanding of the capabilities and limitations of the systems that we are building, and keeping in mind that we are building system for the future use. It's more like having the future of payment solutions today, which makes us again somehow, I wouldn't say much, but I would say one step ahead of the happening right now. So what VolsPay and Wipmo is doing today, people are still doing it tomorrow or the day after. And that is really, makes both of us as formidable players in the, money and payment systems.
Thank you. Thank
Finally,
you. Yeah.
just a
Sorry.
closing statement here, you will be witnessing much more of, it is used to be called fintech, as you know, but I would rather call it TechFin now. So, because, the time that the term is being introduced at that time, it was more likely, the finance was driving technology. But nowadays, you'll find that technology is driving everything, including finance. So I would rather call it, TechFin instead of fintech. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Going back to Salesh, for the last question, we are nearing 1 hour. So, for the interest of time, one very interesting question came, and the question says, according to you, what are the three most interesting and probably affordable payment methods the industry has come across in last 1 year?
Wow, that's a tough question. Which are the three most interesting products that have come in the industry? I think I would say that the most interesting of them all, I don't know about three, but the most interesting of them all, which has come into the payment industry, is BNPL. BNPL is a fantastic product because a it gives it generates um, uh, it generates money or cash for an individual who wants to do a high value purchase or a mid value purchase but doesn't have the ability to pay this for the product in one single shot. So what it has done is it has provided the opportunity to that consumer to purchase his aspirational product today, right? And saving for it and then having the enough money to buy it later. The second thing that the BNPL has done very well is in the high inflationary environment that we are living today, it is a great product which allows the consumer to be ahead of inflation. You know, we have seen product prices move in span of few days. Just as an example, because of the fuel prices going up and a couple of things, look at the way the air ticket prices went up overnight. Uh, and in on a couple of sectors, the prices have been very harsh, almost as 20 to 30% increase. Now, had I been on BNPL and had I purchased the ticket, let's say a week or 2 weeks ago, I would have been ahead of inflation. So that BNPL has done a fantastic job on these two areas. The third thing is that for the millennials or for the new consumers who are coming into the workforce, it has provided them now with an avenue to use a method which is different from cash. So BNPL has put three big tick marks in the industry, which is beating inflation, providing impulse or generating impulse spend for the merchant, and providing an opportunity for the new consumer to buy aspirational products. So I think that BNPL, in my view, BNPL is the most innovative product that has come in the market.
Thank you, Salesh. We are about to close this fantastic session, and as Salesh pointed out, that if any of you gentlemen will be allowed to talk, or you do not have any meetings after this one, then you can continue discussing about this topic for another, say, 7 8 hours, because uh, you are so experienced in your own fields that you can talk about these for us. So thank you once again, Dr. Rafifi. We will meet again. Sailesh, we are not doing business today, but who knows?
Yeah,
And
who knows?
Ravi as well. So thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you for joining. Thank you for your time. And see you soon. And call me for a coffee. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Bye. See
Thank you.
you all.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Salesh, thank you very much, Mr. Ravi.
Thank
Super,
you.
thank you very much as well. And
Thank you.
above all, CC, thank you for such a wonderful session. Looking
Thank you
forward for
so
more
much.
sessions, by the way.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that, doctor. Thank you.
All the best.